You are listening to the Finding Her Palette. Book 6 of 7 in the Iron Rule collection. Written by Akumah and voiceover by Sara. Akumah Audiobooks. Chapter 2, An Invitation to Doubt. Rena's daily life had fallen into a comfortable, predictable rhythm. Her days were spent at the front desk of a graphic design firm, her evenings at her small, cluttered desk by the apartment window, painting or drawing to unwind. This routine had allowed her to drift in and out of creativity, mostly at her own pace, without the weight of external pressures. Despite the creeping insecurities she felt when scrolling through social media, she had made her peace with her modest routine, keeping her passion for art separate from the idea of making it in the industry. But her quiet world was about to be shaken in a way she could never have imagined. One dreary Tuesday afternoon, a soft ping disrupted the usual hum of the office. Rena glanced at her email inbox and saw a message with a subject line that caught her eye: Invitation to the annual Urban Art Showcase. She squinted at the screen, momentarily convinced it was some sort of spam. It wasn't often that opportunities like these fell into her lap. Still, curiosity got the best of her, and she clicked on the email. The message was brief but intriguing. It was from the organizer of a well-known art showcase in the city, an event that drew local and regional artists, art lovers, and gallery owners every year. Dear Rena, it read, we have been following your work and would love for you to participate in this year's annual Urban Art Showcase. The rest of the email went on to detail the event, the attendance of various artists and critics, and, most importantly, the chance for emerging artists to gain exposure in the art world. They invited her to display 3 pieces of her work, granting her a booth in the bustling gallery alongside other artists. Rena read the email 3 times over, the words, "We have been following your work," sticking in her mind. She was equal parts exhilarated and stunned. Who were these people who had taken an interest in her art? How did they even know she existed? She hadn't posted much online, hadn't participated in any big shows, and had kept to her own corner of the creative world. And yet, here was an invitation to be part of something extraordinary. The invitation felt like a beacon, a chance to step beyond her quiet life and show her art to a world that she hadn't dared approach. At first, her heart swelled with excitement. This was the kind of opportunity she daydreamed about, a chance to finally share her work with a wider audience, to connect with others who loved art as much as she did. She imagined setting up her booth, standing among the crowd as they admired her paintings, answering questions about her techniques, and sharing the inspiration behind each piece. For a moment, she could almost feel the satisfaction of validation, the thrill of being recognized as an artist. But as quickly as the excitement had come, it was replaced by a sinking feeling of dread. With trembling hands, she clicked on the link in the email to view the list of other artists who had been invited. She skimmed through the names, and her stomach churned as she saw familiar ones, the same artists she had followed online, whose success and talent had always made her feel inadequate. These were the people with thousands of followers, with glossy portfolios, and extensive exhibition records. Each name on the list seemed like a reminder of her own inadequacy, a silent taunt that she didn't belong in their league. Her mind was a whirlwind of questions and doubts. What would people think of her work next to theirs? Would they see her paintings and think them amateurish, out of place among such polished, professional pieces? She could already imagine the whispers, the polite smiles, the way people would glance over her booth and move on, uninterested. It was as if she were standing in a room full of giants, her own work small and insignificant by comparison. The anxiety gnawed at her all evening. She called her best friend, Lara, hoping for reassurance. "Lara, I got this invitation to the Urban Art Showcase," she said, her voice wavering. "It's supposed to be this huge event with all these amazing artists. I don't know if I can do it." "Oh my God, Rena, that's incredible!" Lara exclaimed, her excitement palpable through the phone. "This is exactly what you've been waiting for. Think of all the people who will see your work." "But that's the problem," Rena replied, the panic rising in her chest. "What if they see it and hate it? Or worse, what if they don't even notice it? What if it's a mistake for me to even try?" Lara was silent for a moment, sensing the weight of Rena's insecurities. Rena, she said gently, I know it's scary, but you wouldn't have been invited if they didn't believe in your talent. You've been working so hard, and this is a chance for people to finally see that. You deserve to be there just as much as anyone else. Rena wanted to believe her friend's words, but her own doubts were louder. She spent the rest of the night wrestling with herself, the excitement she'd felt at first dimmed by an overwhelming fear of failure. The email invitation sat open on her laptop, the cursor blinking at the reply button as if mocking her hesitation. She wanted to say yes, to take this leap, but every time she thought about hitting send, a cold wave of anxiety washed over her. The next day, Rena went through the motions at work, unable to shake her inner turmoil. During her lunch break, she found herself scrolling through social media again, her fingers moving automatically as she looked at the pages of the artists on the showcase list. She studied their work, analyzing every brushstroke, every color choice, every artistic decision, until her own work felt painfully inferior. Each profile she looked at felt like another nail in the coffin of her confidence. After work, she went to a nearby cafe to clear her mind, clutching her coffee cup tightly as she tried to steady her nerves. The idea of exhibiting her art, of stepping out from her quiet, private world and into the public eye, felt like baring her soul. Art had always been personal, something she did for herself. Putting it on display, open to the scrutiny of strangers, felt terrifying. She had always created in the safety of solitude, away from judgment, away from the comparisons that had slowly eroded her self-worth. As she sat there, lost in thought, she overheard a conversation at the table next to her. Two people were discussing an upcoming exhibition, talking animatedly about the importance of taking risks and putting oneself out there. One of them, a young man with paint-stained hands, said, "It's not about being the best. It's about being seen. The worst thing isn't to fail, it's to never try at all." His words struck a chord within her, piercing through the noise of her self-doubt. She knew that if she let this opportunity pass, she would be haunted by the what-ifs for a long time. Taking a deep breath, Rena pulled out her phone and opened her email app. She read the invitation one last time, the words taking on a new weight. She could still feel the fear, the uncertainty, but underneath it was a spark of determination. Maybe she wasn't ready to be in the spotlight, to have her work compared to the greats she admired, but maybe that didn't matter. Maybe this was a chance for her to confront her insecurities, to prove to herself that she could step out of the shadows and be seen. With a steadying breath, she typed her reply, "Thank you for this incredible opportunity. I would be honored to participate in the annual Urban Art Showcase." She hit send before she could second-guess herself, her heart pounding in her chest as she watched the message disappear into the ether. It was done. There was no turning back now. As she walked home, a strange mixture of terror and excitement bubbled inside her. She knew she still had a long way to go, that the road ahead would be fraught with moments of doubt and fear. But for the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope. She had taken a step, a leap into the unknown, and even though the future was uncertain, she knew that she was finally moving forward. In the days that followed, she tried to focus on preparing for the showcase, channeling her nervous energy into her art. She experimented with new techniques, poured her emotions into her work, and began to see each piece as a reflection of her journey. Each brushstroke, each color choice, became an act of courage, a way to reclaim her love for art from the shadows of comparison. And with every stroke, she reminded herself that this was her chance to be seen, to tell her story in her own unique way. The invitation to the showcase had opened a door she hadn't dared approach before, one that led beyond her comfort zone and into the realm of possibility. And though the journey would be challenging, Rena knew that she was ready to face it, one brushstroke at a time. Akumah Audiobooks. You have reached to the end of the chapter. Click next and continue listening to Akumah Audiobooks. This story consists total of 7 chapters as such 7 videos. Refer to channel playlist for better experience and sequence. Subscribe.